The issue of palliatives in Nigeria, how they can be implemented, what exactly they will be, are front and center in Africa's largest economy. President Tinubu, Vice President Shettima will, of course, be meeting with governors in order to discuss how exactly those are going to be implemented, the amounts and so on and so forth. Also, the Central Bank of Nigeria, we understand, has actually reduced the number of BDCs as far as licenses that are going to be issued to them in the marketplace. That's about 2,991. What impact will that have on foreign exchange as far as supply is concerned? Who better to answer these questions than Arise Business Analyst Chika Mbonu? Chika, good morning to you. Thank you so much.
Hi, Rotus. How are you today?
Fine, thank you, sir. And hard question. Chika, palliatives, how do we sort this out?
That's one word that sneaks into the lexicon, Nigerian lexicon. Remember?
Yes, of
during
course.
The COVID. Yeah. It was some notoriety. It didn't come in well.
Yeah.
Because of the way it was abused.
Yeah.
And so even now, a lot of Nigerians use it in a
negative term. Yes.
So it connotes the negative when Nigerians speak about it. So, but we'll bring it home to what we face. We'll talk about this even during the Buhari regime, and we'll say that Nigeria cannot survive this fuel, continue to subsidize fuel. However, if they want to implement the removal of fuel subsidy, they need to put in a basket of palliatives. We use that word several times. Yeah. And we spoke about it several times. Bravely, President Tinubu came in, and then on the day of his swearing in, he removed it. But the other missing leg in the equation was that commensurately, they didn't bring on board immediately the palliatives. And so, again, therefore, this has become a discussion because getting worse and worse. And so what kind of palliatives do Nigerian citizens want?
That is the question.
What would be very impactful to the Nigerian citizens? And I have done some little background research on this and done some study and spoken to a common Nigerians. And I said, what day to day, what kind of palliatives?
Yes.
Is it a handout of 8,000 naira per month to you or to the select few? And a lot of people said, handing out cash is not the solution.
Right.
We should look at the key pointers. Some of the solutions, recommendations could be immediate, and some low-hanging fruit, some will be medium-term and some long-term.
Yeah.
Because the first thing is, look at food, for example. The food moves from the north to the south, and small vice versa. Now, so there must be robust harvest in the north for the nation to feed.
Yeah.
What are the issues concerning that? Farmers are not able to enter their farms, to harvest or even plant.
Right.
So what the issue there is what? Security.
Right.
So that, whenever they're talking about palliatives, that must be done, or addressed, with the new chiefs of staff and everything. Otherwise, it's like to take him back from with your clothes on.
Right.
The other thing that has to do with farm agriculture is the harvest. In Nigeria, we have the post-harvest losses, are up to more than 40%.
Yeah.
Basically, the tomatoes are harvested, rich harvest, but out of the farm gate, we lose more than 40% of it. So the issues of how to preserve the harvest, we thought about silos in the past, and so many. A lot of money have been budgeted for this thing. I told Nigerian problems is not planning.
Right.
Our problem is implementation. If you go to the archives of Ministry of Agriculture, I'm sure that all these things are there. I'm even sure, sadly, that some money have been budgeted for all this thing, but somehow have ended up in the hands of some citizens also. So that's very important. Now, the other thing that the food has to move from north to the south. And then, how do you ensure the transportation is smooth?
Right.
Those who are moving the products, how do you ensure that their cost of operation is low to make sure that the input cost of transportation into the price of the food is reduced? So that has to also be addressed. Now, the other thing also has to do with, I've talked to some people, they said, some state governments are doing it now. Why I'll give you Lagos, for example. People live in the island and work in the mainland. What they do is point to point. They drive their car from their houses 3 hours in the morning and drive it, park in the car park in the evening. In the evening, they move again. They don't need their cars. If they had very reliable public transportation, they can actually enter them and come to work.
Yeah.
So why not litter the whole place with buses? At and preferred rates, so that people can use those buses instead of using their own personal cars. Again, corporates, institutions now are increasing their fleet, their buses fleet.
Yeah.
Can you encourage corporates also now to get more buses for their staff? So that staff don't again, because transportation is a major element now. So instead of people driving their cars, they can follow staff buses, so more routes to get to their locations to and fro. So that is key. A lot of people talk about the issue of putting more money in the hands of citizens. So you have gained some money from a recovery from fuel subsidy non-payment. Can personal income tax be reduced?
Right.
So that citizens can have a little more cash. So if somebody is earning 100,000 naira before, maybe if you reduce his personal income tax, he can earn 120. Additional 20,000 naira on his salary will help. Now, for the civil servants also, me and you talked about yesterday that the states are going to share about 1.9 trillion. 3 times what they did in May, more than twice what they did in June. So they're going to flush with money. So what are they going to do with this money? They should go ahead and pay the rest of all salaries, pensioners and salaries, and then get buses for the civil servants and to move up and down, so reduce the transportation costs. Food security, I thought about. The president says he's doing something about food security. I thought I'd address that one also, because that's very, 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 very key. So the other aspect of it has to do with the productive base of the economy. Manufacturers that have been clamoring, crying for so many impediments to their business. We need to look at them. So that's why I said some of them, these things are low-hanging fruit. Some of them are things we're going to do medium term to long term. So it's not just about going to hand out cash to people and that. Now, as I said, the palliatives came with some notoriety. Some of these governors are going for re-election. Let it not be like the former VP in the olden era. It was during election, people are going to be sharing 5,000 in the marketplaces in the preferred people. No, this is for all the citizens of the states and all the nation. So let it be done fairly and squarely and transparently. Because there's a lot of money, naira money now for all the government. I believe that the basket of all this will help the citizens of the country, ameliorate what they're doing. The right thing thought about was, minimum wage. At 30,000 naira, that's not acceptable again. I don't know of 200,000 naira that people are talking about. I don't know who can sustain that, so that it can collapse a lot of government. But the issue is that the minimum wage needs to be looked into to make sure that civil servants have a little more money in their pocket. Apart from the minimum wage, the consequential increase adjustments also at different levels to make sure that people also get into that. So minimum wage is very, very key. So state governments have said, okay, stop coming to work in some days. That shouldn't reduce productivity, but it will provide cheaper means of transportation, and that's why they're saying don't come to work in whatever. It will help. It will. People can come to work. Productivity can still be maintained, and then the economy continues to grow.
Your name should be on that ministerial list that they are floating around that we haven't seen. Well, thank you for the solutions, Chika. That's the point. That's why I'm saying that. Now, you mentioned money, FX, the BDCs, and this reduction.
Well, Lotus, you know me. I have engaged this at APCON, the APCON people.
Yeah, the Association of Bureau de Change Operators.
And I've told you that the price of every commodity is determined by what? The supply and demand. Demand in Nigeria is not a problem. It's like, whenever I hear the Bureau de Change people talk, it's akin to going to a wedding function. And I don't know why I keep using wedding. I don't know what it is.
You now pick on me.
You got a wedding function, and they say, oh, the food is not enough. And so let's have more sharers of the food, as if that's the solution. Because we know where we get our effects from.
Oil sales.
Oil sales. Now, BDCs are clamoring to participate in the distribution, in the sharing of the money, not in the supply of the money.
Right.
Are you following me?
Yes.
The campaign actually should be, how do we expand the supply net for our country in the foreign exchange market? what are the initiatives? I have a feeling that if the BDCs come out with initiatives on how to improve supply, Central Bank of Nigeria would listen. But if it is, continue to use us to let's collect from you and go and share, it's not normal. Because when they did that role before, the country suffered for it, because they will collect at official rates and then go and do whatever with it, and everybody knew that. And so when CBN banned them, nobody could fight for them because it was real. But the issue should be, if they're clamoring, when you hear them say, "Oh, FX is doing this thing because we're not involved and whatever," involved in whatever, nobody's stopping you. Go and get the source of FX. Indeed, because of that issue of buy at CBN, at the CBN gate there, you said that make 200 or 300 margin. You saw the number of licenses. Of course. More than 6,000 BDC approved licenses. And I was told that at that time there were about 30,000 applications.
Wow.
Waiting. Everybody wanted to have a BDC. As a sharer, not as a supplier of foreign exchange.
Excellent.
Supply is where the issue is.
That's the key.
Now the other thing is this, that, as I told you also, until people just keep an eye on the free market. I said until the reasons that make people go to the free market they are eliminated. The free market will continue to thrive. Okay? One, CBN should look at the 43 items that are on this banned list. Can we unban them and control them with trade policies, which is duty, tariffs, and so on and so forth? Because those people are the people also, because they didn't ban the importation. They just said, "We will not give money from eye window."
Which pushed them to the
I mean, just like saying, you won't feed your children, go and find food anywhere, and then you're worried that they are going to eat in your neighbor that you hate, neighbor's house. How do you want them to feed? So you have for 3 items. He didn't ban the importation. He said, but go and find FX from anywhere and bring it in. Where do you think they're going to find the FX?
Great point.
So let's not cut our face to spite. No, cut our nose to spite our face. So the issue is this: there are some trade policies that are in place now that are still causing the clog in our system. Why are things still be like? Some people are still bringing things through Cotonou or Lomé. Why? What are these taxes that we're losing that chase people to go to these countries? So we need to look all those in the basket holistically, and look for what's fair to us, and then get a policy so that we take the bite once and be done with it.
All right, business analyst Chika Mbonu. Chika, thanks for joining us and giving us the great insights on this headline. Appreciate your time.